Okay, we are starting. So anyways, we're painting, or I'm painting my first phase of that, and then you'll paint the first phase, and then I'll paint the second phase, and you'll do the same thing and follow along. And ask as many questions as you wish you need to ask. And there are no silly questions or stupid questions, if you may want to call them that, because every question is important. The process that I use is I'm painting large areas to small areas, number one. Number two is I'm painting from background to foreground. And that's a repetitive thing because we always go back to the background when we proceed and come forward. So things are coming into focus from the background to foreground. Then you want to paint the colors from lighter values to darker values so you can control, because you can always go darker, but you can't go lighter in most cases. There are exceptions, which I will be showing you. And you're painting your colors a little bit more intense at the beginning, and you can gray things down or wash over things to gray them down as you proceed through the painting. You cannot get your colors any more intense than you can at the beginning, with the exception of putting the same color on the same color. So what I'm going to be doing, this is a small inlet near Copper Harbor up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And there was a little inlet here. And what I did is I kind of moved this back a little bit, and I put a shoreline over here in the background so that you can see kind of up and around. And it's very simple to block in. So what I'm doing here, and I'll show you what I'm mixing at all times if possible. And I'm going to start with the sky, and by taking the cobalt blue, a little bit of the ultramarine blue, like so. And we have kind of a overcast sky to a certain extent. So I'm adding a little bit of raw sienna to give a little bit of grayness to the sky. I'm adding a lot of water to this, and I'm going to begin washing in. And I'm very quick in this. I don't worry about little details. That's always last. I'm going to take a little bit more raw sienna, and I'm going to put it down here at the bottom, just a slight bit. And I'm going to go right on over some of the trees, like so. And we try to keep our edges as soft as possible for as long as possible. I'm going to go to my medium-sized cat tongue here. And I'm going to take the sap green. And I don't like over mixing color. In other words, don't create just a pool of color. So I got the sap green here. I'm going to take some of the cobalt blue and just a little bit of the burnt sienna to warm up that green just a little bit. And I'm going to begin painting in here, allowing most of my edges to remain soft for as long as I can. And I'm going to take some more raw sienna here. So we're painting some of these warm colors here in the middle, like so. And we're bringing it down into here. And I'm going to take a little bit of ultramarine blue with this. So I'm coming forward, and you want to try to get the idea that the painting comes into view pretty much like a Polaroid piece of film. And I'm going to add some more greens over here. We got some darker greens. And I'm going to spray this with my spray bottle just a little bit, like so. And then I'm going to take the raw sienna very, very lightly, and I'm going to wash it right in here. A little bit more raw sienna for the sandy beach that's up here. And again, I'm trying to keep this very casual. I'm not trying to devote anything to reality. I'm painting large areas to small areas. So I'm trying to get the imprint of this scene down And in the background, I'm going to use a little bit of the cobalt blue back here to start with. And I'm going to take a little bit of the raw sienna here, or burnt sienna, I'm sorry. And I will recap this. And I'll come right down along the beach here, next to the water. And I'll take some pure raw sienna. And I'm going to mix it right in here like so. But we want to be fairly colorful with what we're doing. Now, I'm going to wipe the palette clean here for the most part. And I am going to very lightly put in some of the water that's down here. And I'm going to go out to the outer shores out here, and I'm going to put in very lightly the water that's furthest out.
Would you use there?
Yes, go ahead.
Would you use cobalt blue or ultramarine?
I'm using ultramarine blue because it's a little bit warmer.
Right. Okay.
And I'm trying to keep this blue a little bit on the warm side. So I'm taking some of the raw sienna at this point, and I'm going to put it right in here, like so. So I'm covering most of the area. I'm watching this one wave that comes in here, that it doesn't get lost, so I'm leaving that the weight of the paper. And now I'm going to go in with some very dark blue-green, grayed down by a little bit of the burnt sienna. And I am going to wash in this reflection, and I'm going to catch it a little bit right there. But we have this real nice dark reflection down here. And I'm going to take a little bit of the cobalt blue and put that over here and up against the wave here. And I want to try to keep my edges as soft as I can for as long as I can, for the fact that you don't want any hard edges at the beginning. So I will check on you on what you're doing while you're doing it. So just to recap what I've done, I started off with the cobalt blue, a little bit of ultramarine blue up in the sky. I had a little bit of raw sienna as I got down towards the horizon line. And then I started with the sap green and the raw sienna, a little bit of the ultramarine blue, made this a little bit more dark with the ultramarine blue, a lot of raw sienna and burnt sienna through here. Then I came in with the ultramarine blue in this part, trying to maintain this part of the wave, and then raw sienna grayed down with a little bit of the cobalt, and then the sap green with the ultramarine blue with a little bit of burnt sienna in here to get the feeling of that dark water, that dark reflection in there. So if you go ahead, I will be watching what you're doing. If you have any questions, please ask.
What was the that reflection? The sap green, ultramarine, and what else?
Burnt sienna, which burnt sienna is a grayed down red-orange, and red will grade down any green as green will grade down any red. So any type of red will grade down green and vice versa.
Thank you.
So was that sap green and cobalt for the dark reflection?
Sap green and ultramarine blue with a little bit of burnt sienna.
Okay.
I used the darker of the two blues and then the green, which has got a dark value. And then with a little bit of burnt sienna, it grays it and darkens it right away.
So I have my choice between French ultramarine and ultramarine green shade. Which one should I use?
Go with the French ultramarine.
That's what I thought. I remembered you like that.
I like ultramarine green shade, but it has its purposes.
I don't have blue shade. I have green shade. So
yeah, I mean,
yeah. So okay, I'll use the French ultramarine. Thank you.
Yeah, the French ultramarine is an excellent color. I use it on occasion. I have it in my drawer but I don't use it a whole lot. But I will in a forest scene sometimes when I'm in the studio.
Dale, Diana, tell me again, the water was ultramarine blue?
Ultramarine blue, sap green, and a little bit.
No, over to the left, the real water.
Oh, that is ultramarine blue, yes.
Okay. And behind it, a little bit further up is ultramarine with raw sienna?
Yeah, right up in here.
Okay.
For those that are new to class, this weekend sometime you will get a packet of the video and the still shots that I'm doing here. So that if you don't finish the painting, you can continue or you can redo it. But you'll have it for as long as you want, basically. Now remember to keep your washes very simple. Don't try to put in too much detail. That comes in time. You don't want to rush it.
Dale, I think I'm done.
Okay. Let's see what you have. All right, that's good. We'll see you next week. No, just kidding.
You're so
Nope,
kind.
you got it all blocked in good. All right.
Thank you. I'm gonna go get some more coffee.
All right, pick up a beignet for me too, would you please?
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah. A little hot sauce on it.
No, that
Hot
would
chocolate sauce.
Chocolate sauce, yes. Is there anybody else that's ready to show me what you have?
Yeah, I am, Dale.
Yeah, you're good so far. Yep, that's fine. Good.
Okay.
Diana, oh, go ahead.
Okay, you're fine.
Okay.
That's good. Oh, okay, there you are. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
The very beginning of this, we always try to keep things simple. Colleen, did I have you as a student a long time ago?
Yes, I did go to the Elmhurst Art Museum.
Okay, that's where I recognize you from.
Yeah.
That was a while back, though.
Yes, I've been trying since then.
That's good.
And I thought, well, maybe I could try you again because you were always a little, for me, too advanced. I couldn't keep up with you.
Sorry.
No,
That's
not you.
okay. That makes two of us.
Oh,
Well, I think the challenge is at least I knew, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. Okay, I'll keep practicing.
Exactly.
my watercolors were terrible when I started as a student. So I know how you feel.
Yeah, thank you. And it's interesting because I can't get my colors to match your colors. And yet I'm using the same color, sap green and the raw sienna. And I'm like, this doesn't look like that. But
Okay, what name brand are you using?
I'm using Daniel Smith or M. Graham.
All right, those are very good colors. I'm using mostly Core, which is made by Golden Colors.
Oh, yes.
Every name brand is a little bit different, especially in their earth colors like raw sienna, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, and those sort of colors. They do change quite a bit, and I use the Core, and I use a little bit of Winsor Newton and some of the M. Graham and so forth. I use Rembrandt occasionally when I can't find the color that I want in Core, but there were times in the past where I was using 3 to 4 different name brands because I liked the way the color was as opposed to other name brands. So it's just a matter of personal taste when you come down to it. But you'll catch on, don't worry.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Describe the color mix on the dark green in the water, the last step. Yep. What's that?
That's the ultramarine blue with the sap green and a little bit of the burnt sienna.
Perfect, thanks.
That'll be $1. Okay. Fred, you're doing fine. Denise is doing fine. How are you doing, Bev?
I am doing, but much slower. I can pick this up and kind of, can you see that if I pick it up?
Okay. You're getting there. You just have to do big sweeping movements down here. And
Yeah,
up in here.
and what did you recommend for that, the very,
That
the
was
very bottom?
That was the raw sienna with a little bit of the, a tiny pinpoint of head of the burnt sienna, lots of water, and I washed across here.
So above that, so raw sienna at the very bottom, correct?
Yeah, right down here.
Yeah.
With a little bit of the just a pinpoint of the burnt sienna, allowing the blue to kind of bleed in and the green to bleed in. And then up here was the raw sienna, a little bit more with little bit less water, and then burnt sienna over here with a little bit of the raw sienna.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, what I want to remind everybody, including my older students, is that the value of the color is more important than the color itself. If the value is not right, more color will not make it any better.
We're not, oh, yeah, I guess we are working on value to some extent.
What's that, Tony?
We are working on value to some extent here.
Oh, yes, yeah. Tony, you were in my Bloomington one.
In the Brown County Art Gallery in July.
That's right, I'm sorry. All I could see was the back of your head. I didn't see your face.
Oh, sorry. Oh, my hair was longer. I had no bangs. Yeah.
Okay. And
But I was a wise mouse.
No, you weren't.
Yeah. Let's say I have a sense of humor.
That's good. Janet, how are you doing? Okay. We're going to get started in a few minutes, so hang in there.
Dale, can you hear me?
Say again?
Can you hear me? This is Donna.
Oh, Donna, I'm sorry.
And I would like to show you where I'm just trying to lay in color from your painting.
Okay, I'm looking for you up here.
Because I'm trying to catch up.
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
So can I show you?
All right, pull back on it a little bit. Okay. You want to get the rest of the island shown in here with the different values with a lot of water with the raw sienna and the burnt sienna going across through here and allow it to bleed up in. And down here was a lot of water with the raw sienna and a little bit of the burnt sienna, allowing the green and the blue to flow in.
All right, I do not have a picture. So I'm drawing along with what and I'm drawing and painting right as.
You don't have the photograph?
No, because I had trouble with my finding my things, so I didn't get it started correctly.
Okay, just hang. So you didn't get it in the email?
No, but I'm going to go back and figure out what's going on with my
Can
email.
you take a snapshot of this?
Sure.
Let me bring it up closer.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Okay, we're going to get started again. What I want to show everybody is how to dry brush, especially the new students that haven't been with me too long. When you're dry brushing, you're going to take the color, whatever colors you're using. I'm going to take the sap green and the burnt or ultramarine blue, and you take your brush on the paper towel and you dry it off just a little bit. And you then can begin making the pine trees. I'm going to use a little bit more water. Making the pine trees in sweeping movements going out from the main part of the stem. And you can model that later on after that. But this is what I'm going to be doing in this next step, is the tops of the pine trees.
What size brush? Sorry.
I've got a number 4 here, but I'm going to show you, I'm going from a small area. I use a little bit more water here, which you can, but you try not to. But if I take the small cat tongue here and I mix up the color, not a lot of water, and I can take the cat tongue brush, and I've got a bit of too much water, so I tap it off on the paper towel, and you can see on how you can create by sweeping out. And as I go down the tree, actually the branches go a little bit more horizontal up on the top. They're going up because they're not weighted as much. So if you can see this, down towards the bottom, you're going to see a little bit more horizontal movement, to where you get down towards the bottom, they'll go down and then they'll tip up at the end because of the weight on them. But that's, I'm pushing and pulling the brush back and forth. I'm not doing this, dabbing it on like this. You don't want to do that to try to create the pine tree, because there's a lot of pine trees in here along with the hardwoods. But that will give you kind of a mushy thing. You want something that's a little bit more airy. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started, and I'm going to go to the very background back here, that shoreline. I'm going to take the cobalt blue, a little bit of the color I mixed here, and I'm going to go very lightly back there. I want to give it a little bit of warmth and a little bit of character to it, which, making it a little bit darker, will bring it closer to us. But the reason why I put the cobalt underneath there, it will influence the color I put on top of it. And I'm going to leave a little bit down here towards the bottom. Now, I'm going to start with my smaller brush in this case, and I'm going to take the cobalt blue with the color I already have mixed in here. And again, I don't overmix it, and I'm going to very lightly, with a lot of water, and dry the brush off. I'm going to start putting in, and the tops of the trees become much more important than before they get down to the bottom where they're kind of meshed in. But I'm going to put in just very casually. Don't try to overthink the pine tree. So I am basically putting in the stem here with the same color, skipping down. I'm going to add a little bit of burnt sienna in here with the green. And I want this tree to be kind of on the sparse side. Then down towards the bottom, I'm taking some more sap green and some cobalt blue. A little bit more cobalt blue. Then I'm going to take some of this color that was over here, some of that burnt sienna to gray it, and I'm going to put in that shrub down towards the bottom, or that other part of the tree here. Take a little bit of water and maneuver that dark I just put down, like so. Now this should be dry enough that I could paint over it and not have it bleed. So I'm going to go to the next tree, and I'm going to add some ultramarine blue to that and some cobalt. So I'm mixing in the same pile of color, and I'm going to go in here and make bigger sweeping movements with a dry brush. If I'm too wet, I'll always tap it off on the paper towel. And I keep on moving off, and then I move off to the other side, so that I'm trying to get that movement of sweeping back and forth, which is very important. I've added a little bit different color here, with a little bit more of the sap green and the yellow. Then I come down to the bottom, and I'm being a little bit more casual with it. I'm going to take my bigger brush because I'm into a bigger area here. And I'm allowing the color from previous wash to show through. That helps create a little bit more character, gives a little bit more depth. I am using Arches paper today, and I inherited it from a student that was one of my students years and years ago, and she willed me all her paper in her will, and her daughter called me. And I'm still not liking the Arches as much as the indigo watercolor paper, but I'm taking pure raw sienna here, and I'm adding that raw sienna in here like so. So I'm completing section as I go. I'm going to go about halfway through. Then I'm going to stop so that you can do the same thing I did, so we don't speed it up too fast. So I'm taking a lot more color over here, bigger, broader brush strokes, a little bit less dryness to it. And again, I'm allowing that light to come through. And every 3 to 5 brush strokes, 6 brush strokes, I'm changing color a little bit because this is only the second wash. So I'm going to go through this or go on top of it here and there where necessary later on. So I got a little bit more ultramarine blue. I'm allowing things to connect up here, but I don't want to cover everything. I want to leave little light holes here and there. And then I'm going to take the raw sienna mixed in with that green, and I'm going to come down in here like so, and some more raw sienna almost straight. And I'm going to take my toothbrush just with water on it, and I'm going to spray this a little bit down in here so that it kind of softens into the rest of that. Then I'll come up with this next tree here. I'm going to make this one a little bit lighter, a little bit airier, because I don't want this too much big mass up here. Add to the other one a little bit. And as I come down into this area, I'm going to add the ultramarine blue and the sap green to it with a little bit of burnt sienna, just to slightly gray it. And I'm going to go in here and make this a little bit on the darker side. So I'm changing values, I'm changing temperature, I've changed the intensity of the color. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a lot more raw sienna again, right up against it. And coming on down to here, like so, some dark. And I'm going to hit that with my toothbrush. This paper does not have a lot of sizing on it, unfortunately, and the amount of lifting I can do is limited. So I am trying to pay attention to that. So at this point, I'm going to stop. At this point, I'll carry on and down and over, but I want you to get used to handling the dry brush. So if you folks go ahead, you can start that.
Dale, you solved the mystery for me.
Good.
I could never like lift as cleanly as you could, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? And I use Arches paper.
I'll show you. This is what I usually do with lifting just with the brush here. I squeeze all the water out after I rinse it, and I would come in here like this, and I would lift. Now you can see that I'm
Doesn't
barely
lift as
picking
much
up
as your
anything.
other paper.
Okay,
Yep.
and it's frustrating because Arches has changed their paper. I don't know when they did that, but single sheets of paper to make the paper, I've repeated myself this before, but they put sizing in the paper, which is like an invisible glue, and that holds the fibers of the cotton together. Then what they do for protection and also technique that you can use the watercolor paper is they spray sizing on it to protect it and so forth. And
Right.
you then can lift your color because it floats on top. The thing about that is that the block paper that you get, Winsor Newton or whatever, I mean not Arches, it doesn't have that on there for protection because it's in a block and it already has a cover to it.
Gotcha.
So I found that out early, not to buy the block. I'm not a big fan of it. You can still paint on it. You can still come up with something good. But for my purposes, I don't care for it. But for the Arches, you used to be able to lift quite avidly. And I don't know why they changed the formula. But let me show you. This is the core watercolor paper. I'm just going to put this up here for a minute. And I can go in at any point, this is an older painting, and I can go in and you can see how I'm lifting things.
Yeah, it totally lifts so much better.
It lifts like just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And the Arches, I can't get it to do that.
No.
So you can see on how clean that is. Over here, if I try the same thing,
You can't. It's already.
you
Yeah, I know.
can lift, but it's nothing like what I've done on the other. And
Right.
that, to me, is a very frustrating thing not to have that maneuverability on the paper. So I have to go and rethink things going into this. And the reason why I'm using this is I thought I would use the Arches paper, and it's not reacting with the way I was hoping it would.
Okay. Thank you.
And you'll find that the indigo paper is cheaper in cost, but it's high quality. And you can thank my wife for that because she ordered some unbeknownst to me, knowing that I never used it before. So I kind of fell in love with it.
Dale, it's Diana.
Yeah.
I'm using a sheet of indigo today, and when I was ripping it apart yesterday, it was like two sheets pressed together that I could actually peel them apart.
I need the picture of.
You got a freebie.
But I didn't rip it apart, but it felt like I could have peeled the two pieces apart, but then they were very thin.
Oh,
And
well, that was probably in the manufacturing of the paper, unfortunately.
So could it have been like the end of the lot or something that it?
Could have very well been, yes. I had that happen to me once on a watercolor paper called Saunders.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a little bit softer paper, but that was 10, 11 years ago, and I was thinking it was maybe the end of the line on the run. I really didn't know.
Well, it might be that indigo is handmade paper, so it may not be pressed together, sealed as much as the,
No, it's a softer paper.
Yeah.
And you have to be kind of gentle with it, as opposed, you can pretty well scrub this paper, but since they changed it, you can't do as many things with it as I was hoping.
So we'll see how it comes out.
Yeah. I also received, which I have a hard time finding it if they even make it anymore, I received a block from this lady who passed of Wattman watercolor paper.
Mm.
I have not been able to find Wattman for 10, 15 years. and I'm anxious to try it. It's a cold press. Yeah, this is 140 pound, which I usually use 300 pound. But I thought, well, I'll try it and see what happens. But I don't like to experiment with stuff live. I do it in my studio in my own privacy. I learned that a long time ago. Don't experiment in public.
It might make us feel better that we're not.
Well, I did with the indigo. I did with the indigo paper the first time I had it with my students in my studio here, and I was picking up with my my oil painting brush, and I went right through the paper because I was a little bit too harsh with it. They thought it was very funny that I did that.
Yeah, we students can be that way.
I know, but that's the good part. Is that not? I don't think there's any instructor out there that's perfect, and we all experiment. We all make mistakes. We all know that I have a landfill somewhere in my name of old watercolors. But I'm gonna try this and see if I can remove anything. Yeah, I can kind of diddle around with it, but it's nothing like the indigo paper or the Saunders or anything. And I like experimenting with different papers, but I'm not a big fan of arches anymore, and that's what I used to use primarily.
Yeah, I gave up using it. Indigo and Stonehenge are my favorites.
Stonehenge is very good.
Yeah. Can't always find it, but
I have no problem finding the indigo.
yeah, the indigo, no problem with that either.
Stonehenge I have a problem finding once in a while.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have problem finding Stonehenge. It's everywhere.
It's not available all the time. It's usually out of stock. That's the problem I'm finding.
Because everybody loves it.
Dale,
Yes, go ahead, Donna.
I'm painting from the picture, but every time somebody responds or speaks to you, their picture comes up and I can't see the picture.
Double click on him
Okay.
in your little boxes.
And the little boxes?
You should be able to see his box.
Like I see you right now speaking
Okay,
to me.
but look at the, don't you see all 6 boxes
No.
on the side?
There should be 8 boxes or 6, yeah.
No.
I think you have to switch to the gallery view, that little box in the upper left-hand corner with all the circles. Switch to that and you'll see everybody, and then you pin his picture.
I'm glad you guys know this because that's why I have my wife. She's the technician. She's the brains and I'm the brush.
I don't see Dale. I see his picture. Is that what I click on?
Yeah.
Yes, click on his picture. Double click.
Okay.
Or
Yeah, double click the picture.
and you should have something that says, actually just single click it, and it should come up with chat or pin. See that?
No.
Well, I double clicked it and he popped right up when I double clicked on it.
Yeah.
That's only temporary, I think.
No.
I did the double click and then got the thing to pin him,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and that's where it showed up.
Oh, that's because I'm on speaker.
All right. I see you all.
Okay.
So I want to go to his picture, and I tried to double click on that picture. Okay. Now I have it. Thank you.
Okay, Diane, what do you have to show me, please? Okay, good. How you doing, Denise?
A little behind from our chat at the beginning.
All right. Fred. That's coming along nice. I can see it from here. Colleen, are you ready to show me? Or
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good.
Do I need more darker color here?
No, not right now. We're gonna go over the third time, so don't worry.
Have I tried showing you yours? I've got my gigantic wooden easel. Let me see if I can rotate this a little without knocking all the water over.
All right.
Oh, here, no, I got it. Can you see this?
Yeah. You need to get your darks darker up in the trees up here.
Yeah, that's what
Tony.
I'm working on now. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a beginner, so I'm a little slower.
Well,
I'm also, since I work in colored pencils, I'm used to doing layers slowly building up. So
yeah, I understand that.
my psychology is it doesn't feel rushed. I'm trying not to go into panic mode this time.
Okay. You don't want to get panicked.
Yeah, really.
How are you doing, Bev?
I'm a slow person. So, yeah. So, I'm just kind of,
Okay, you're fine.
I'm
I only took it about halfway across the inlet here.
okay.
So,
So I don't feel I'm getting the value in the middle of the greens.
use less water if it's too light. Use
Okay.
more water if it's too dark. So there is a happy medium in there that you have to experience on how much water, how much pigment.
Okay.
I try to show you in front with the palette to a certain degree, but I know it's difficult to catch on to that right away.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I just added much more color, and I can see that makes a big difference.
Okay, you're all right. I mean, this is when is the last time you painted in watercolor?
Probably in April or May.
Okay, you'll catch on. Don't worry.
Okay. I appreciate you talking about those trees a little bit. I'd like to make a note on that as far as the brush strokes. At the top, could you just kind of repeat that?
Well, okay, I'll show you again. That's not a problem. It's also will be on the video that you will receive.
Oh, okay, never mind then. That's fine.
Yep,
That's fine.
Sure. More than happy to show you
So
again.
I'm going to be doing this till 2. What time is it there?
I'll show you one more time. That's not a problem.
12?
Okay, just to go back to what I was doing, when you have any type of tree, doesn't matter for the most part, you have the trunk, and up at the top, the branches go upward, like so. And as they start going down the trunk, they start leveling off to where they're pretty much straight like this. On a pine tree, with the weight of it, it will go down and then the ends will tip up a little bit because it's the amount of weight from the pine tree. So when you're doing this, you're taking I'm going to take the skeleton and I'm going to push and pull the brush like so. And you want to try to get some air in there. You want to get that scratchiness that has it. And as we go down the tree, it gets a little bit denser. You don't see as much air between the branches coming through, like so. But you see it come back and forth, and you see a little bit of air like that, but right over the skeleton of the tree is basically following what I had drawn previous to that. So it looks pretty much like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be on the video also as the first one is.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to come down the line and see where you're all at. Bev, you want to show me what you have?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, not bad. You're getting there. That's fine. You don't need to go any further at this point.
Okay.
Tony, you want to show me what you have?
All right, just a second. I gotta catch something before it dries.
All right. Fred, you look good.
Is that Dale?
You look good, Fred. It's fine.
Okay, thank you.
You got a good hand.
Okay. How's this?
All right.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can. Now let me see.
I'm sort of starting to get some more value in there.
All right. You try to get your darks a little bit darker as you come around.
Still working at it.
Yeah, with less water.
Yeah.
But you're getting there.
Well, I see. I had it darker, and I said, "Ooh, that's too dark." And then I added water to it to lighten it.
One of the things that about watercolor, watercolor will dry up to 50% lighter, depending on.
I've noticed that for those light trees in the background, they looked almost yellow green, and they were dark green when I painted them.
Yeah, so that's something that has to be learned by experience on what to anticipate. Donna, can I see yours, please?
I don't have too much to show here. Just catching up with the picture.
I know you didn't have the photograph to begin with, but you're fine. You're doing well. Okay, Denise. Oh, that's coming along nice too, Denise. That's fine. Diana, you're fine.
Okay.
Can I see yours? Can you hear me, Colleen? All right. Good. All right, you're getting there. You're fine too. And Janet. All right, you're getting there. That's fine. Good. All right. I'm going to continue on at this point. Let me wipe this. Well, I'll leave that on there. I'm going to continue off on this side, and then I'm going to come down to the bottom here. So we're taking it in sections. And I'm going to start off with the raw sienna and a little bit of the sap green. So we've got something like that and a touch of this. And I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to paint the dark up against it. And I'm going to bring that right on down to here like so. So I'm following basically what is on the photo. And I'm going to bring that down into here. And this watercolor paper, I'm having everything soak in right away, which it doesn't float on top as much as I would prefer. Now, I'm going to take the sap green and the ultramarine blue. We're going to go a lot darker. Now, your eyes are attracted to more light colors. They're first attracted to contrast of value. But I am going to come up in here with some very dark darks. And I'm going to start at the bottom of the tree this time. You don't have to start at the top. But I want this to remain soft. That's why I'm going up against the more wet part of what I just put down. And I'm going to paint that pine tree in. It's going to be heavier in its feeling of value. It's going to be bigger, like so. And as it comes up, I will get it a little bit lighter. But I'm not putting as much detail as I did on these over here, because your eye, I do not want to have fall out of the composition with off to the right hand side, because we read a painting from left to right. And I'm going to put in some darks in between here like so to break this area up.
Is that the normal thought, that we view paintings from left to right?
We always read a painting from left to right and up to down in many cases, but the idea is not to allow them to fall out the right-hand side, so that's why all the detail will be over here. So that will attract the eye. Now, I'm going to put in some cobalt blue into this, and with the raw sienna, I drag some of this color over, and I'm going to put in a cooler tree or pine tree in the background here. And the reason being is that warm colors attract the eye more than cool colors, or anything that's relative like that. So these trees are further in the back. I don't want too much detail on them, but I'm going to make sure that they're formed correctly, just very lightly. They will fall back, and the ones in the foreground that I'm doing now that are a little bit darker will come forward. And I'm going to take my toothbrush at this point, and I'm going to cross this mixture back and forth, and I am going to put in some softness back in here, like so. And all that soft value will kind of soften the eye a little bit more. And I'm going to take some of the raw sienna with the blue in it, and I'm going to come down in here, and I'm going to be more careful about how I start forming this beach area. Now, at this point, since this is wet, I'm going to try to lift this just a little bit with a lighter value tree. It lifts somewhat, not a whole lot, but I'm going to bring that up and out. So you have to do it kind of like when it's wet. And I'm going to bring another one right through here like this. Now, going back down to the bottom, I'm going to clean my tray off. I clean off my tray constantly so I don't get muddy color. And I'm going to come down into the beach area or the shoreline, and I'm going to kind of travel very carefully as far as shapes and so forth. So I'm taking the burnt sienna, the raw sienna, and I'm going to use my cobalt blue to gray. That'll gray that down. And I'm going to come down into here like so. I have other things that are going to go up on top of it in a minute, but I want to make sure that I'm getting some of these colors in that are very important. Almost pure raw sienna here. I'm not concerned about little shapes at this point, but I'm going to go back into the part that's just up above here, and I want to signify another shape out in front here, and just something to break that area up. And then I have this darkness that comes down in the middle of the island here. And that comes right down into here. So I'm drawing with my brush more than I did with the pencil, but that helps bring this down a little bit more. And I'm going to use my middle-sized cat tongue here, and I'm going to go off to the side over here. And I'm being kind of very careful with things and putting in things where they're at. Smaller passages, we've done the larger ones. I'm going to take the toothbrush one more time with pure raw sienna on it, and quite a bit of it. And I'm going to sprinkle that in here to warm this up just a slight bit. But I have to say that this paper is a little bit disappointing, especially when I've been using it for years and years. Now I'm going to come down on the slope of this kind of sand dune here and put in a couple trees in here. And that will kind of come down like this. And then we have some other foliage in here. I'm going in really just indicating things at this point. I don't want to sit there and spell everything out because it doesn't serve a purpose. So I take some more burnt sienna, and there are some indications of other types of rocks in here, like this. And then the shoreline here that goes across that denotes the different levels of water that's throughout the years here. But just to give an idea of what's there without over spelling what's going on. And we have a few darks in here that overhang. And I'm going to put a few dark trees in here that are along the shoreline with my small brush. And the very last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and form this dark area in here. Not real dark, but dark enough to push it back. I'll worry about this later. So, just to recap what I've done, I came in on the top up in here with the larger pine tree that's very dark, and I made it much more casual than these out here. I'm going to reinforce these later after I get this situated. And I came across to here making this dark. I created these pine trees with the cobalt blue and a little bit of the green so that they fall back. And I put a lot of pure color in here, keeping it very simple. And I added, by lifting when this was wet with my 1-inch flat, and I then traveled across down through the bottom with the burnt sienna and a little bit of the raw sienna as it comes out here, and then made the shoreline more evident. Then I put in some darker trees, but you don't need to over handle it. Keep it very simple. Just remember, you're developing the painting on a slow course. You don't have to spell everything out, and never finish any one area before another. You want to bring it all up into focus at once, because next time I'm coming down here, then I'll go back into the trees afterwards. Fred, what kind of paper are you painting on today?
It's Arches. There seems to be a theme today, Dale. It's Arches 300-pound cold pressed, and it is on a block.
Okay. I was just curious because I'm looking at what you have as opposed to what I've got going up here. And I know the video feed will make values change and so forth.
Right.
It looks darker on my video feed than it is in person. And it's quite interesting.
Yeah, mine looks pretty dark in person.
Okay.
But you're right, the color values don't always translate.
No, because Janet, just to give you the heads up on Dillman's, we have 20 people in class, and you can go set up down in the studio. You can ask them where the studio's at on Sunday night to get a good seat.
I would love to come to that, but we're in the process of moving. I got downsizers and auctioneers in here 3 days a week. I stole this time for this class.
Well, that's good. We're also in the process of moving, packing up, because we'll be moving north to northern Wisconsin. We'll be up there sometime in November, but we'll still be doing the palette and chisel Zoom classes. I don't know exactly when they'll resume, but they will resume. We're getting Starlink up there.
And I'm so happy to hear that you're going to continue with palette and chisel.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I am too. I talked to Bill Ewers, the director of the school, and he's very happy that we're continuing. But it depends on when we get Starlink. We've already ordered it. It takes a while to have the dish and all the thing, and then get it set up. I might just hire somebody to set it up for me. It's supposed to be very simple, but
That's what they all say.
yeah, I know. It's like going to IKEA with, slot A and a slot B, but they don't show anything else. But they say it's very simple to set up, but I got to find the right spot for it because we've got a lot of pine trees around us.
You're probably going to have an endless supply of photographic material.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be outside painting more plein air probably here and there than I've ever done before.
Yeah, I was talking my husband into maybe if you do another one later in the spring or summer. But I showed him all those lakes and fishing areas out there, and
Oh yeah.
forest, yeah. Figured he could occupy himself for 4 days.
Well, my wife and I will be fishing more. We haven't done that in the last few years because we've been working on the log cabin. Anybody willing to show me what they have?
Oh, sure, I will.
All right.
And the boys.
Okay, can you see it?
I'm looking for just a minute. Every time somebody moves something, my slide rule changes. Okay, move your camera down. Okay, yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Dale, this is Colleen.
Yes, just a minute. Hold on. For some reason, I'm not seeing everybody here. Hold on just a minute here. Okay, I got you, Colleen. Oh, that's wonderful. Very good.
Okay, thank you.
What paper are you working on today, Colleen?
I'm sorry?
What paper are you working on today?
Arches.
Okay. That's funny.
Must be Arches Day.
I've
actually-
switched though to the
I'm actually-
Fabriano. They have the 200 pound, which is
Yeah.
a little bit cheaper, and it works just as well as the Arches 300. So I get generally Fabriano, but I had some Arches left. So
Well, that's good. That's good. I work on 200 pound and 300 pound. I try never to work on 140 pound unless I'm doing sketches. But because it warps, and if you're working 140 pound, you only want to tape it across the top and 2 tabs of paper on the side because it has to flex back and forth with the wetness and dryness of it. And I hated painting in hills and valleys.
yes, but I never get my watercolors wet enough, so it's like spaghettios.
I can understand that.
But there's that, I tried, because I saw this one other guy, he's in Ohio, and I was on his Zoom classes, and he uses Lanaquel. Is that, I don't know if I'm saying the name right. And so I did get a sheet of that, and that was really nice. It was very expensive though.
Yes,
But-
it is.
It was beautiful for lifting, and the colors didn't dry as quickly. You had a chance to move them around.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, maybe if I ever do a masterpiece, I'll buy a sheet of that.
That's called, I've heard of it before. It's called Lanaquil.
Lanaquil, yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look that up. I'm always willing to try new and different things. The only thing I don't care because I saw it demonstrated one time was the Yupo, which is really not a paper.
Oh, no.
It's to me, it's like painting on plastic.
Yeah. Yeah,
You can't layer your paints at all.
right. Yeah, I've looked at on Blix for it, but it's one of their higher priced, and they don't carry it in the stores. So then you're paying the extra shipping charge.
Yes.
And I'm like, Okay, well, I tried it once and it was a beautiful paper. I will say that. But after all said and done, I'm like, well, I'm not at that level that I should be using that paper yet. So,
Well, yes and no. I always feel that you should use good quality paper. Yeah, the price does depend, but
right.
if you're having problems getting things, either go to Cheap Joe's or Jerry's Artorama. Dick Blick's is very limited, and their prices are a little bit higher.
Yeah.
But I've had no problem with Cheap Joe's at all or Jerry's Artorama. I even go to Amazon once in a while when I'm looking for something I can't find that they're out of stock in the other stores. So occasionally Amazon will have it.
What's interesting is I do want to compare Amazon prices because I found that they're more expensive than what you're really thinking. You're thinking, oh, you're getting a deal, and it's not that much.
Yeah.
I have found that. Yeah, I have found that too, that actually they're more expensive than checking the.
They are in some cases, but when I need something, unfortunately, I'll pay more. But Amazon is not bad for some things where I find that Cheap Joe's and Jerry's Artorama are comparable in price and cheaper. Because I'm getting 3 full sheets of indigo paper for $32 at Cheap Joe's, where elsewhere it's $42 at Jerry's Artorama or even Amazon. And that's the 300 pound.
Oh, that's a really good price.
So I can get basically 12 paintings out of cutting it in quarters out of the sheets. If you go to the art store, it's in Rochester, New York. You can pick up 200 pound indigo paper. You get 5 sheets in a bundle for about the same price. And the 200 pound is very good. I've used that in the past. Okay, Bev, you got anything to show me?
Yes, I kind of all over the place right now. What do you think? Where should I?
It's coming along. You have this one dark patch that comes out. If you can lift that a little bit.
Right here or in the middle?
No, all the way out to the left-hand side. That dark water patch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you could lift that a little because it goes way beyond where it should.
Okay.
The rest of it is looking pretty good.
And what else should I be doing?
We're going to go back up into the top here later, so we don't need to do anything there. I'm going to concentrate on this area down here.
Okay.
That's where.
How much was it?
Yeah, so you don't have to really do too much except lift that dark passage right here.
$16.
And when you say lift it, leave the shape, but just
yes, exactly.
Soften the edge.
Yes, soften it up.
Thank you.
But you're doing fine.
Thank you.
Gail, I'm ready here.
Yeah. Let's see, just a minute. I got to get to your other. Okay, that's good. Hold it a little bit closer to the camera if you can, Denise. There we go. All right, good. All right, wonderful. And Diane, do you have anything to show me?
Sure.
Okay, that's coming along nice.
Okay.
Good. Fred, you're fine. Donna, do you have anything to show me, dear?
Hanging in there.
Okay.
All right, move your camera to your left. A little bit more. Okay, you're getting there. I know you had a rough start because you came in late and didn't have the photo, but you're fine.
Thank you.
It takes time, which you already know.
Yes.
Tony, can I see what you have?
Okay.
You have to smile when you show me, by the way. All right, that's getting there.
Getting there, yeah. My trees are too much the same value, but I'm not going to worry about that
Well,
right now.
we're going to change that up towards the end anyways.
Okay.
Janet, can I see yours, please? Okay, good. All right. I think we're ready to go. Did I miss anybody by chance? All right. Okay. I am going to, I got my water clean, I got my palette clean, and I am going to go into the water area. And I'm going to take the ultramarine blue, a little bit of the cobalt blue, and I'm going to come right through here just a little bit. Now, I know I told one of you to erase this, but I am going to, I wanted it a little bit lighter. You had a very dark spot. And I'm going to put that movement in here. And I have a very, very intense blue right here. And I'm going to just let it sit there just a second. Then I'm going to soften it a little bit. And I'm going to bring this down like so. And I had a little bit of raw sienna in here. I'm going to bring this in here like this. A little bit more ultramarine blue and some, a little bit of sap green actually. I'm going to start going in towards that green reflection. So I have a color that has the sap green, the ultramarine blue, and the cobalt blue in it. And I'm going to come across right in here, and I'm going to make that, I've lost part of my wave, I'm not worried about it. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make this quite a bit darker. I'll show you what I'll do with the wave later. And I'm going to bring this across through here like so. And we have a little bit of the blue down here. Now, that blue that's going across the sand here, I have very, very light movement. And I'm going to reflect that down into here, into that sand that's showing through. And I'm going to take a little bit of that cobalt and hit it again, very lightly. Then I'm going to come over into the dark area with the ultramarine blue, the sap green, and just a tad of the burnt sienna to get that darkness I'm looking for. And I'm going to be very careful on how this is beginning to be portrayed, so I don't lose too much of that shape and movement that I'm looking for. So I'm moving right across through here. I'm going to take a little bit more ultramarine blue. And I'm going to hit it with the water with the toothbrush to let it run a little bit. And I'm going to have it be very casual. Pick up that drop right there.
That's just ultramarine blue and sap green.
Sap green and a little bit of the burnt sienna too. And as I come off out of that darkness, I'm going to add the cobalt blue over here, that it's a little bit lighter. And then I'm going to take the burnt sienna, if you can see that. It's got a little bit of the blue in there, and I'm going to paint this right up into here very lightly. And allow this to be softened a little bit. So I'm going to have this very casual down here and just let it bleed just a little bit, because I don't want too much hard edge in the water. And then I'm going to just cover this down here like this. That's not too much is more going to happen in the water because it's not the focal point of things. I'm going to take a little bit of that darkness again, and I'm going to put it a little bit in here and kind of wave it across, just to give this a little bit of movement. Now, what I'm going to do next is, I know I didn't put it on the palette, but I'm going to take a little bit of white gouache and revive that wave. So I got the white gouache. I'm going to put it in with the raw sienna, and I'm going to put the white gouache through here as it rolls in, so we don't lose that. And we got a little bit up in here too. The idea is to give the impression of what's there. We don't have to spell out everything, but in this case I'm using it, to be truthful, as a cheat, because I lost the in the paper I lost the white because I can't lift it like I thought I was going to, so I didn't put it on the list. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of that gouache here and there. My intention was not to do that, but we're going to leave it like that. And then I'm going to just allow this to, I'm going to spray the whole bottom here and just let it run and let it do what it wants to. Now, up on top, I'm going to start off on the left-hand side, clean my palette off. And I'm going to start from this side and go across the trees. And I'm going to be handling smaller and smaller areas as we go through this. So I'm going to take just the two smaller brushes, and I'm going to start by putting in some punch of value. So I'm using the ultramarine blue, the sap green, and a little bit of the burnt sienna to start with. And I am going to emphasize these points out in here. I'm going to get these things a little bit darker, add a little bit of character to them here and there. But this will give a little bit of a value change, a little bit of punch to what I need to do. And add a little bit more character to it. And while this is drying, I'm adding a little bit more character to this down here. So this will make the lights look lighter when I get those parts dark enough. I'm going to add a little bit of cobalt blue to the mixture. And I'm coming up in here, and I'm trying to get these light, warmer values to shine. I'm also going to add some of those cast shadows in here that are from the plants. And I'm working it back and forth. Take a little bit of the burnt sienna, and I want to accent some of these colors out on the beach here with a little bit warmer color. Going back to the dark, very dark blue-green. I need to add a little bit more character to this tree. And I'm adding darks underneath the boughs of the pine here so that the light will come out on the pine. And I'm starting to separate these areas here with a little bit of value so that some will come out, some will recede. So I'm dividing up the area into smaller and smaller pieces with small accents of dark. They sometimes won't be any type of form This I just put a pine tree in here. And other times they'll just be dots and dashes of value to push out other things. So I'm adding some cobalt blue in here for the shadow. And I'm adding in some more darks up in here. And I want to have this tree a little bit more pronounced so it pulls away from the tree off on the right hand side. So and then I'll come down in here and add some more accents of darks here and there. Adding some more ultramarine blue. It's various types of greens, and I'm graying down all the greens with basically the burnt sienna. In this particular case, I do limit my palette when I'm teaching because we don't need to be juggling any more than 6 colors at one time. Most of my demos are 5 colors. And it gives the student a chance to understand those particular combinations. I'm going to add a few trees along the beach, some hardwood trees, just to give this a little bit of character. But this is where you're putting in your final approach to what you're doing. Add some color in here. And I'm just emulating a few things down in here to make more sense. And I keep on going back and forth between the darks and the midtones at this point. And adding just a few little details. They may or may not be there, or they're in a different place, but that's what I'm doing at this point, is making sure that the painting is reading the way that it should. And I just like the way this falls off. It doesn't have to make any particular sense at this point. Now, what you can do at this point is we can go in, and I'm going to take a little bit of the white paint. I don't have a lot of white paint on here, and a little bit of the raw sienna, and I'm going to make a very light raw sienna here. I'm going to dry brush in some of the lighter value branches up in here. It's perfectly legal to do this. Some people say, well, you shouldn't do that. You can do it any way you want to do it. The only reason that you wouldn't do it, if you entered a contest, jury contest, that said it has to be 100% opaque, then you wouldn't do this. But I'm just trying to bring out certain areas that I feel need to be brought out. And I'm going to take the toothbrush at this point, and I'm going to create a little bit more interest in this tree here. And a little bit more here. And I want to create this darkness that's right down in here. And I'm going to add in a little bit of an accent of some cobalt blue in here, and some burnt sienna. We need to bump this up just a little bit right in here. And there's different levels of this shoreline moving in different directions. I want to bring it out a little bit more out this way. Let's create a couple rocks out in here. And a few more things. I'm going to take a little bit of this opaque white again, and I'm going to go right through here. A little bit here. There's nothing wrong with doing this. I do it often enough. And it gives your painting a little bit different dimension. Let's revisit this wave again. So I'm kind of using it translucently back here with a lot of water in the pigment. So I'm having a little bit more fun than what I thought I was going to do with this. A couple more things. I think what I need here is another tree coming up here. So I'm adding in the yellow for the trees here on the edge of the beach here. I'll add in a couple here. So, and the last thing is I'm going to add scrape out a few branches in here. Just to give it some sort of texture. So I'm going to take the tape off, see where we're at. If it wants to come off. Let's start over here. There we go. So that's where that lies. So it's an interpretation of what's there, which is important. It's not a copy. So you guys can go ahead and start finishing up.
more of a, when you send the model of, what the picture is, it comes out a little bit small. Does anybody know how to enlarge that? I try to click on attachment. It's probably more a photography type question, but.
Can you enlarge it on your screen and take a picture of it?
Yeah, so when I look at what you sent to us, I think I was looking for something that said open attachment so that I could expand it. Does anybody remember that, or?
No, it doesn't come that way. You just sort of have to estimate how much bigger the drawing needs to be when you put it on the paper.
Yeah, because I do everything on a quarter sheet for the demonstrations.
It's just, it comes through nicely, but, as you can see, it's so small on the page. It'd be nice to expand it. I just don't know how to do that.
The only way I would think of is to, usually I'm painting from my iPad all the time. So it's not any bigger than what you're seeing here, basically. I find if it's too big,
it distorts it.
Well, no, I end up looking at little nitty gritty.
Well, that's true. No, that's a good point. It's a good point.
I like the students to get the impression of what's down the image first, because you want to get the image down right away, a block in.
Right.
And worry about little detail.
Right. Well, probably not about the detail. Well, I noticed even in the drawing that you gave.
I do simplify the drawing quite a bit.
Okay.
It's very sketchy, to be truthful.
Okay. Well, then that's a good answer too.
Yeah, because otherwise, the rest of it is all done with my brush. And I'm just indicating where things are going, unless I'm doing something that has to be very exact. Then I will have more of an exact drawing. It's something that I feel that the students should get away from, as far as getting every little thing down. I've done portraits before, which are very important to get a good drawing down, whether it be an animal or a person. But I'm always trying to emphasize, don't overdraw, because you end up losing your line drawing right away.
Okay. Also, is there? I'm really looking and enjoying how the reflection is when you sprayed it, or perhaps you used the toothbrush and kind of went over it.
Go ahead.
That's really nice. So, but is it too late to do it after it's a little bit drier?
Yes, it is.
I'm speculating you're going to get splotches.
I did this when it was still wet. I got that falling feeling.
Yeah, that's beautiful. But you could possibly re-wet it and try to do that, right?
It won't work.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Because the pigment has soaked into the paper already. You still want it floating on top and kind of glistening a little bit. There's basically two different levels that you can do it on. If it's still glistening with water, you can do it and it's going to move faster. If it is semi-dry, you can still see a little bit of glistening. You can do it and you'll have a slower movement. But it's something you have to learn how to anticipate when and where to do it.
Okay, well that looks extremely pretty though. I love it. It's very pretty.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, because I put down the second wash on here, and right away I put a second wash on. It was darker. Then I hit it with the toothbrush or the spray bottle. I forgot which one, and then it just fell.
Yeah.
But having this casual down here and more defined up here is better because you don't want everything equally defined because it will flatten out the composition.
Yeah. Well, and I know it's right in the middle, but I like it like that. I think it's really,
It's
you
I
know,
still have things up in here balancing it off to.
yeah, I can see you actually have,
Yeah.
you know, 3 towards midline. I mean, besides that, and then up. Yeah, it's really nice.
Right. It's a matter of when you do it. Timing in watercolor is everything. If it's meant to be wet, just to show you, I did this painting here in 3 colors. And I did it for a friend of mine that was visiting. She said, I'm having problems with this. I did this in about 20 minutes to show her what colors to use and how quickly you can achieve a freshness in it and have it come off. So in other words, the darkness in the trees here was the last thing I did in coming across the creek here. But you can see when I did this here, this was still wet and it bled out. This was wet. And
Beautiful. Yeah, really nice.
You can see the glistening of the water a little bit, and it still flops out on you, which what it does is it takes away the attention from this up here. So it's something that is learned through experimentation. I used a lot of scrap pieces of paper to see when I need to do it, how I need to do it, when not to do it. And I use scrap pieces of paper all the time.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's a good point.
And it's the same thing here. This was wet in the middle. Right up here. And how it just bled down.
Yeah, beautiful light.
Along through here, more through here because it was wetter. I did the same thing here. This was a 2-color painting. This was a 3-color painting to show on how color can create a different mood and a different enhancement. But when you put it down, this is all soft up in here because I did it when it was semi-wet, not wet, but semi-wet. Where this here was done a little bit drier through here, and it seems a little bit more hard-edged as opposed to there. So you can achieve the softness or the hard-edged line by the amount of wetness that is on the paper. And scrap paper is a wonderful thing, or the other side of a painting you don't like, which I had hundreds of them at the beginning. And even this here, this was done all wet on wet. And it's a fog scene of the river. I just showed you a different view. This was New Year's Day, and it was raining out with the fog coming up.
Yeah, that reminds me, you mentioned that, what's it called, Yupo or something, that waxy thing. I have.
Yeah, Yupo.
Yeah, I've done that before, and you know, it's really fun. You know, you have to put something to preserve it on top because it obviously will scratch off and change. But that last one you showed me actually just reminded me of the beautiful darks and lights you can get with
it. But it's just a matter of timing when you put it on. Yupo is not something that I think I would use because I'm not. It's just not my liking.
Yeah, no, it's just a fun thing to try though.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's like everything on this one here was done wet on wet. And then I waited for it to dry and then worked around it. So the whole background was blocked in yellow, green. And I started building forward and painting around the things that I wanted to pop out. So I was doing what they call negative painting. The process that you learn with the timing. You know, I had an instructor friend of mine where his main thing is in watercolor, timing is everything. So we try to keep our edges soft for as long as we can and watch our timing on things and work with different ideas And let the watercolor do what it wants to do. Don't chase it or try to control it. You might end up with a happy accident.
Yeah.
I've had more unhappy accidents in the past, but
Mhm.
eventually understand how to create a happy accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the last one that we did in the last 5 weeks, 4-week session.
Oh, beautiful.
And this is the painting where it starts right here. But I had them where I worked very loose on this,
Mhm.
and I just wanted that dark forest with that light coming down in the background to kind of lead the eye in the background.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's a question of how you're doing it.
Mhm.
And this was done on the indigo paper, but it was done on the flip side of the indigo paper, which is
Oh.
different than the top side.
Huh.
And you get different things like that all the time with different experimentations of things. And sometimes it's very aggravating, sometimes it's a lot of fun.
Mhm.
But this was a Christmas card I sent out to my brother. I had no drawing on the paper, and I just started painting patterns of light and dark. But it was very casual.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Fabulous, yeah.
Lovely.
It looks spontaneous and fresh and
Yeah,
natural.
it kind of resembles a scene down by the creek that's not too far from us in the woods.
Yeah, I figured you were remembering something.
Yeah. But I was just trying to work out a pattern of light and dark. And I do a lot of different things with different types of value patterns and so forth.
Yeah.
You know, this one I did. I think
Ooh,
I did
love
this
that.
last year at Dillman's.
That's really powerful.
They were only allowed to draw one line, which was right here, just to maintain the shore. And and I started working with tons of color, bright color in the background. So when I put the darks on top, that light shone through.
Yeah, that's glorious.
But I had done a whole year of workshops 3 years ago where they weren't allowed to put a line on the paper, and they followed the large patterns of lights and darks. And they didn't have to come up with exactly what they were seeing. Some people came up with some really interesting things that worked extremely well. But it's the matter of making the light and dark pattern work.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to know how to do that.
Well,
Yeah, wouldn't it?
I guess I'll hang out a while.
Yeah.
It takes time and a lot of practice. It's like a musical instrument or learning how to dance. I dance like a water buffalo in a china shop, but and I can't sing, but I can paint. I can't play a musical instrument, so it's a matter of practice.
So you're going to have a video. This is recorded because I missed my computer died. I didn't go away mad. My computer died, and
No, we
I had
will send you a recording out sometime Sunday, hopefully.
Oh, no rush. Yeah.
Of what we just did, so it will have the drawing. It'll have the whole thing on it, all the still pictures I took of this,
Yeah.
phases, and the video.
Yeah. No, I missed this whole section of putting the lighter trees up front.
I'm sorry, your computer died.
I think my plug, I had secured it, so I have my computer on my music stand, and it's not a big one. So I secured the plug. I think it's slightly pulled out because basically my battery died.
Yeah,
So
I understand.
I'll be more. Yeah.
How we're tied to these things nowadays. Sometimes I think,
Oh yeah.
We went off from our house when we were kids with a dime in our pocket and called our house if we needed mom or dad.
Mhm.
Now we all have cell phones.
Yeah. That's fabulous.
Thank you.
So Dale, I need some feedback, please.
Yes, let's see what I'm gonna check everybody before we leave. There's no rush in leaving.
No, okay.
Okay, Fred, you wanna hold it up to the camera for me, please?
Sure. I'm not pleased with the wave.
Okay. The wave you can have come around just a little bit more. You've got it too straight.
So up here?
Yeah, it got kind of a horseshoe. The wave here, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, kind of curve it more. I've got it about 1.5 inches up from the bottom, and it goes over to this way. So it kind of loops a little bit.
Okay, yeah, mine's about 3/4 of an inch. Okay.
But the rest of it looks pretty good.
Okay, thank you. I'll work on the wave.
Yeah, it's a matter of getting the right thing in the right place.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
You bet.
Dale, this is Colleen. If I could just get some feedback.
Oh, that turned out nice. There's a light spot here in the middle someplace. I don't know exactly what that is.
I don't either. I think that's why I'm like, okay, now what do I do?
Put the dark in there. Put a dark over it.
Okay, so I should get rid of that light
Yeah,
spot in the middle.
Eliminate it completely.
Okay.
Well, one thing about nature is very forgiving. If something appears that's not supposed to be or you don't want it, you can always eliminate it.
Good. Usually it's the other way around.
No, you did fine.
Thank you.
Janet, how you doing? All right, that's good. Hold it a little bit more off to your left. There you go. All right, that's coming along fine. That's good.
You want to take a look at mine? What didn't get it's dried more. It has a different look. I did a little more.
All right, hang on. Where are we at here?
Tony, this is Tony.
Is this Donna or Tony?
Tony.
Oh, Tony.
Oh, I thought she finished. I'm sorry. Did you finish? I'm sorry. I thought you finished with Janet.
No, hold up. Hold it up. I got you.
Wait.
I got you, Tony.
Yeah, wait a minute. My thing fell apart here.
All right, that came out. You got a little bit too much color up in here.
That's what I was thinking.
With the yellow green.
I tried to be bold and I tried to wash some of it out.
All right, well, no, leave it alone and make it a grassy shore.
Yeah. Well, I thought about that too.
Nobody's
Nobody's
going to know, and the form is still working. You just
yeah.
grass in here.
So this, I like this. This is actually
Yeah, that's fine. That's
good.
good.
My first attempt. I didn't do a second layer because I was reasonably happy with that.
But you have grass on your shoreline now that you'll have to mow, but
yeah.
Well,
I figure I can put a bush or a rock or something, break it up.
Grass is fine.
Because that's why I missed all the tree stuff up here and the white stuff.
You can add a little bit more variety in the trees up in here.
Right. I didn't. That was when my
leave the grass on the shoreline. That's fine.
Fine, thanks.
It still works.
Yeah, I don't have with all love. I don't have the need to do it exactly like yours because that would be silly.
No, if it comes out different, I'm happy with that. Working. Beverly, you have something for me, please?
Yeah, I do. I think I have a little eyesore that's bothering me.
The area that's down in here, is that what you're talking about?
Well, I think I have very similar size shapes, my, the sandy area beach, or,
You have less shoreline.
yeah. And my reflection is competing with this. They're too similar in size, I think.
Okay, what you can do is we were talking about this, I believe, with Colleen or somebody back here. Take that dark green paint,
Mm-hmm.
this, paint another layer on top, spray it with water, and just let it fall.
Ah, the scary thing, huh? Okay.
Let it fall. Nothing's
Yeah.
going to happen to the rest of the painting.
Okay. Can
And
it show?
it'll create somewhat of an illusion like that, and
Mhm.
it will soften all that stuff.
Great. So, and when I spray, just spray on the reflection part?
Yeah, just spray on this. What you could do is, if you're laying it flat,
Finishing up.
take a piece of paper towel and put
We're
it
finishing up.
Okay.
after you paint this, and then spray it with water. Take the paper towel off, because you'll have this flat like this.
Yes.
Clean it out
Okay.
and just let it fall.
Okay. Great. That gives me at least an
Yeah,
attempt
see,
at trying to do what you did.
Man, look.
All of the
This is what his looks like.
work.
Is that cool? Is it?
All right. Thank you, Dale.
You bet.
I'll give it a go.
Well, that's for a beginner, isn't it? I see, I missed my computer.
No, I think
It-
everybody-
Dale, it's Diana. I'm gonna sign off and I send it to you in an email.
All right. Anybody can, by the
See you
way,
next week.
anybody can send me their finished painting in an email, so don't feel like you have no other way to do it.
Okay. And we're seeing you in 2 weeks, is it? Or next?
Oh, you'll be seeing me next Thursday.
Oh, next Thursday. Okay. All right. Great. All
And
right.
you're gonna send us a whole new picture to play with
Yes,
before?
You're going to get a whole new packet of stuff on Sunday instead of Tuesday,
Yeah.
because we have to wait for the roster to come in from the palette before we can send anything out.
Yeah. Well, I didn't register it till Tuesday, so that's my fault. I was saying, am I really gonna tell my downsizer not to show up? And yeah, I did.
Okay. And Donna, make sure that you're registered from your daughter,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Anybody else before we take the meeting to a close?
No? Thank
Can
you.
I look at mine for a minute?
Yes,
Donna.
just a minute, Donna. Coming down the line.
Oh, sorry.
I got a kind of a line switchboard going on up here. So I'm looking for you, Donna. Just hold on.
That's good.
Okay, I got you now, Donna. Hold it up. All right.
Ooh, cool.
That came out really well, Donna. For somebody that was playing catch up at the beginning, having no,
Oh, it was terrible.
no, it's not. It really isn't.
Oh.
There's a little more work to do on it, but you had no
Yes.
to go by. So you did well. She signed up a little bit late and didn't have a drawing.
That's fabulous, actually. Love the color contrast.
Okay.
Oh, you're so kind.
we
Thank
just
you.
sold it to Tony for $700.
Very kind.
Donna, we just sold your painting for $700 to Tony. I get that.
Oh,
It's
thank you. And I'll say goodbye to everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Have a good weekend.
You
So
too.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Especially the thing about the trees. That was really,
Okay,
really
good.
very helpful. Thank you.
Can't wait to see the video.
Bye.
Here you go.
Yeah.
See you next week.
See you. It's nice meeting you all. Fun.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Dale, you want to take one last look at mine?
Yes, I do, Denise.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna look too then.
Oh, that came out nice. Hold it a little bit closer if you could.
Some
Oh, yeah.
highlights here, and then I painted over it because I didn't like them.
Yeah, but that's fine. You're good. I just showed you a couple tricks with the gouache, so.
Yeah.
All right, wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next week.
See you, Dale. Have a good one.
You too. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.